Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to PJ Squared. My name is Phillip Bingham.
And I am Patrick Jerome.
All right, so starting off, want to apologize. It's been a long time since we've recorded. Life happens and things get in the way, but we haven't forgot about you all and have a lot to catch up on. A lot of different topics, I would say. Starting off with one of the greatest comebacks that we've seen in NFL history, along with the first 100 days of the new President Trump candidacy, and my music as well. There's a lot of things happening right now. What'd you say?
Well, that's entirely true. I think we start off, and I think we start off with an epic national championship football game between Clemson and Alabama. Your mom and I have very close ties to that game. She's an Alabama graduate. I'm a Clemson graduate. Last year she won, so we can say the household won. This year Clemson won, so we can say the household won again. So I don't think there are too many households that can say they've got two national championships in 2 years, which then leads us to, I guess, that next topic of the Brady bunch.
Wow. So if you all missed, that championship, it honestly might go down as one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, depending on what side of that conversation you're on. If you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, I'm sorry. That was probably like seeing your heart just get ripped out of your chest, because to be up so much at halftime, and then
And at one point, Phillip up 25 points close to the start of the fourth period.
yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest claps I've ever seen in sports history. So it's very sad to see. I mean, I know like the city and all the people were really ready for it. Had their whole rise up hashtag and theme and whatnot going on. Just man.
Well, some folks might say that Atlanta choked. Others might say that Brady pulled it out. I have never been a big Tom Brady fan, but basically he has earned that mantle of the greatest quarterback of all time. That team goes down as you look at the run they've had over the years. You're talking about 7 Super Bowl appearances, and that's unparalleled. So I have to give my props to Tom Brady and to Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, if I recall, Tom Brady was drafted, I want to say 6th or 7th round from Michigan. I'm honestly not even sure if he even started for the Michigan team. He came in for the Patriots after Bledsoe, I believe, went down.
You were a youngster at that time.
And thoroughly, it was almost smooth sailing since then. Oh, well, no, I'm not going to say that's smooth sailing. They had the Tuck scandal and all these other things.
Well, yeah, you're right. The famous Tuck rule that many people say got them off to the start and started that kind of Super Bowl run. You go back through and they say after the Deflate Gate that it became a personal thing between he and the commissioner as far as what took place, and it kind of overshadowed, I guess, the greatness that he has. But you have to give it to him. I sat there and was one of many that thought that Atlanta was pretty close to basically closing out, but whether it was Tom Brady's ability and his coaching staff, the adjustments they made, whether it was basically playing it safe from Atlanta's standpoint, it went down as a great game no matter what side of the fence you fell on.
Oh, yeah. I just remember seeing Devontae Freeman I was like, man, he's about to go for over 100 yards rushing. Julio Jones was a little quiet in the game. Matty Ice, he was putting on. But then, man, I'm not sure what speech Belichick gave at halftime, but Tom came out like the Jordan of football and took the game over.
Yeah, it's almost like they didn't know what happened. Before you know it, Atlanta, who had forced some turnovers in the first half, basically couldn't get out of their own way in the second half. Just time management, play calling. Basically, the moment got too big for them, as some people would say. They had their chances, did not capitalize. uh, clock management, penalties, you name it. They call it unforced errors. I know this is hard for fans out there here of Atlanta, but wow.
Wow, indeed. The catch, honestly, um, what was it, Amendola or
Yeah, that catch, kind of the ball is fumbling around everywhere, and sometimes you have to give a little bit of luck. It happened to them a few Super Bowls back, and I guess some things changed, but that was just one of those things that took place, and I know from a standpoint of watching the game, it was an enjoyable game other than that last few minutes, because I think when it went to overtime, I think everybody agreed that when it got to overtime, you could look at Atlanta and they basically had already lost it before they went onto the field.
oh yeah, I mean, you could just see the scoreboard. They came back. There's 25 unanswered points.
I think it was 31 unanswered points and everything. So you can tell by our voices right now, we're reliving the stunning relationship of it all. I remember as your mom was sitting there, and her brother was getting really excited about it and thought it was over, and she was giving that famous warning, "It ain't over yet." And sure enough, it wasn't over yet. And I think there were people that went to bed that night thinking it was over, and it might have been like one of those elections many years ago when they said Dewey wins and Truman really won, and it's the one you don't go to sleep anytime the fat lady hadn't sung yet.
Say that right. Other good game, Clemson, Alabama. That was a great college football game. Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts. That was honestly one of the behind the Texas USC game. I think that might have been one of the greatest college football games that I've personally been able to see. That was just, no team was giving up. It was just play after play. A lot of heart was just left on the field. But man, yeah, Clemson showed that they're the better team.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to bring up, because we saw that Texas National Championship game versus USC, which had just all these outstanding 2 Heisman Trophy players on the field. A player that probably was deserving of the Heisman Trophy and Vince Young. We saw that same thing this year with Deshaun Watson. Not sure what type of career he'll have in the professional ranks, but he has set himself in the annals of history for Clemson University as far as what he's able to do during his time frame there, and more importantly, to finish with his degree. And that's just a very important thing for him to do, is to finish that degree. Particularly from my standpoint as an educator, it's always important to see a person basically, get those important pieces of paper that open up other doors for them.
Oh yeah, and even when you hear Deshaun Watson speak with reporters and the press, you can tell just how much of a humble person he is. It's never I. It's always a team. Always giving thanks to God. But he definitely, you can tell that he has a bright future ahead of him, whether it's in sports or any other aspect of his life. He's definitely well grounded and well deserving of all the accolades that he's able to accomplish to this point.
Yeah. And given that, Phillip, since I always say I'm a baby boomer, those folks born between 1945 and they say, 1964, we have a different kind of outlook. But given the way so many athletes are, I would call it much more focused on themselves, much more focused on those ego-driven type things, is he a throwback type of player to that then, where he's more focused on the team than himself?
Yeah. I thought there's always been abrasive or talkative players even back then, so I can't really say you can generalize it to a specific era. It's just like people. There's different personalities.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, we've gone through a whole bunch, and so from a young person's standpoint, you now had a chance to vote in 2 different elections now?
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
you've
I
had
have.
to see the inaugurations and everything, and you've seen a lot of things that have taken place since then. So how do you look at this, your benefit of those first 100 days?
Honestly, it's comical at this point. I try not to watch the news nowadays because it makes our government appear like a circus. Um, there's so many instances where they would like to portray themselves in such a serious light, but the actions that are taken um, speak volumes for what's going on. You have cabinet members that are just talking out of their ass and actually just pretty much, well, they're resigning, saving face type deal. But man, you honestly don't even know who's in charge. Um, so it's kind of sad as far as the direction goes, since this should be like the honeymoon period of the presidency, and it's going so it's rough right now. It's rough.
So as a aspiring, I guess, musician, I know you're getting ready to have a nice little trip to Miami
Miami
for I guess it's I'm not sure what the music fest, what it's called again.
Ultra Music
Ultra
Festival.
Music Fest. So it's the
Ultra
same
Music
name they have
Festival.
every year. Have you found that as you've been basically making music and creating, have any of your tones changed? Say tones, has any of the aspect of your music changed to reflect that?
Honestly, it makes me realize how important entertainers, reporters, newscasters are to society, because we have to be very honest and upfront with what's going on. So we're almost the taste makers, you could say. But basically, if things are going on, we have to talk about it. Can't cut any punches. You have to be frank, and it's made me look deeper at my craft to make sure I can critically evaluate what's going on and portray it in the best way possible, while still making it sound good, honestly.
And so pretty much you already had your, um, I guess, compilations. You were basically going through and mapping out this soon to be released, I guess, volume
Mixtape.
of music. I guess it's a genre kind of, I would call it poetry, rap, hip hop, um, music that tells stories within it. Most of that was already kind of focused as you started going through. 'Cause I know you have a cover that they're working on designing, and that each of the different tracks reflects different aspects of I guess your life and personal journey and growth. Are there any particular tunes that you want to kind of share early on with folks or talk about?
So first off, the mixtape is entitled "The Vibe to Greatness." The reason I came to that is because it's just on self-reflection. I've started to realize that most things in life are really energy-based, or vibes, you would say. So it's honestly just getting in tune with the best vibe possible and writing that. So hence the vibe to greatness. I'm starting to get on my path of enlightenment, you could call it, and great things are starting to happen, honestly. As far as like songs on the mixtape, I don't want to divulge too much about that. I've released one single, Skyfall, with one of my brothers, Nick's. You know what I'm saying? He put me on initially, ad tech, with a few features and whatnot. So people have been liking that single so far. We released one recently called "Things They Say," which is geared towards the self doubt and also the outside doubters, haters. You know what I'm saying? Keeping it 100. And that's something that people have been feeling from the grapevine, and just people just directly hitting me up and whatnot. I mean, I definitely appreciate people's feedback and telling me how much their music, or tell me how much my music like means to them. But yeah, the mixtape, the cover is done. Probably going to be releasing that to whet the appetite in the next few weeks. I'm contemplating dropping another song, but I don't know. I don't know if the people are ready for that right now.
So that's become a quite of a, I guess, a more than just a hobby for you. Do you find, is it when you're basically looking at composing something, do you have like a certain mindset you go in with, or do you start it with like a particular focus in mind and then sort of just expound it from there?
It honestly depends. Sometimes I'll honestly like just get a bunch of different beats and just play them back to back and see which one I'm like really feeling the most. Sometimes I'll hear something. I'll actually look at like what the beat's entitled, because typically like the producers already have kind of like a theme in mind when they come up with the beat, and I'll just check that out, and then sometimes I'll just start writing. I know for one of the tracks, the new Amazing Grace, it was literally heard it late one night, and then I started writing on it at like 11 p.m. I think I finished the song like that night at like 4 in the morning. So it's just kind of like where the creative juices start flowing, just kind of go in that direction, and whatever feels right most of the time is like your best work, especially if you're being honest and like put yourself out there, and the song's typically your best work, I found at least.
Well, we know it seems like you do a lot of your work late at night as your mom and I are laying here in bed, and we can tell those are moments when you must get that feeling, because it's typically, I guess, your power time frame at night. But how do you typically go about getting people to listen to it? 'Cause I know you've talked to me. You said how people have heard it like online, or I guess, what medium are you typically using right now? And is that something that's new?
Well, right now I'm just using SoundCloud, and that's not really anything new right now. I recently like got a Reverb Nation account, just because one of my bros who's actually been doing music a little bit more than me, Dreski, shout out to his new single, Amazing, he put out on iTunes recently. Definitely got some good vibes to it, so check that out. Um,
Isn't that the same way that like Chance the Rapper? Didn't he kind of use that? I guess that's
oh
why
yeah,
online, because I'm
Chance is great. Congrats to him on his recent his Grammy achievements and whatnot. He pretty much laid the blueprint for an independent artist, because one of the things he does is he puts out his music for free, so that the most people can listen to it. I know personally, as far as my songs and the mixtape I'm going to be putting out in March, most likely, I'm going to start looking into hitting up music bloggers, friends that write blogs, friends that are DJs, and then just people that I know have a very critical ear for music. Because I know it's nice when people say, "Oh yeah, your music sounds good, I like that," but then like you have to find people that can be like real with you and be like, "All right, well, I like this part," or "I wasn't really feeling this, but I really like what you did there," because criticism's where you grow the most. So definitely just networking and just building relationships with people, because I mean, if someone doesn't if someone doesn't either like your music or like you personally, then they're not gonna be inclined to share your music. So, and then a lot of times it's just organically people just kind of stumble across like either my Instagram or my SoundCloud. So I've been getting a lot of like recent likes and follows from that.
Okay, so I know that we have another podcast between now and when you go to Miami for Ultra, and when you have a performance in Richmond, and so we're
Yes.
gonna come back to that. We're gonna come back to that in another episode, so we'll kind of leave people like guessing as to what's going on. So tell me about your mom and I, since Valentine's Day is important to us. How does Valentine's relate to folks in your age group?
Uh, yeah, I feel like Valentine's Day is still important for people my generation, especially if you have a significant spouse.
Let's hope your spouse is significant.
Oh yeah, especially in if you bring up the instance of a Hurt Bay, but that's hashtag Hurt Bay. Definitely look into that. But yeah, I mean, depending on like your perspective, for those people that are in relationships, whether like the guys over here stressing about what to get, or the girls like, man, is he gonna like give me anything? We're gonna go out to dinner, yada yada yada. And then you have like the whole section of like single people who are just either don't care slash forget about it, or are just sulking.
Okay, so which single category are you in then?
I was in the section that honestly forgot about Valentine's Day.
So it's a good thing that your mom and I had Valentine's planned that we're able to include you then, correct?
Oh, well, I mean, I was originally gonna go to this concert, but then it was nice. I got to spend time with the family, so that was nice.
That you were a nice third wheel to have, because you know the story. Your mom and I got engaged on Valentine's Day in 1983, and so for us it's a very special day. And so, I made a point when your mom that weekend before. This is one of our little good stories. Is that I made a point telling I was going to come back up and let my boss know that I was going to take off early to come for Valentine's Day. We had no school event, school board things that night, and so I came up, and your mom basically threw together one of her very sensational good meals, and you assisted her with it, where you sit down and you've got
Blessed.
your wife, and you've got your son there with you, and your wife, you come in and she's cooking away, and it was really nice where you're able to come and have a nice steak, nice seafood going with it.
A feast for kings and queens, I'd say.
And you can't beat that. So for us, it's always a blessing. We look back now, and I guess every Valentine's Day is a special one, particularly when no one has to look for the ring, as your mom and I joke around about. But yes, we were engaged, and it's been wonderful ever since. So I guess hopefully for you, maybe next Valentine's Day, it doesn't appear that anybody special in your life right now, but perhaps you'll find that special person too.
Oh yeah, I mean, one can only be so blessed to be married successfully for so long, especially in this day and age. Man, people, people, I don't know, people fall in and out of love so quickly. It's just you see marriages come up, and then a few years just no longer there. So
That's really neat. Yeah, that's good to hear. So maybe you'll find that they call it that special person. Like when I'm driving up here on the weekends to spend time with your mom, and I'll hear those famous stories from Delilah, and I remember so many times your mom and I would be driving across country, sometimes by ourselves, and then when you and Tava came along with you guys, and in the middle of the night we hear those famous Delilah stories.
the blue van.
Yeah, in the blue van and in the Suburban. So, but yeah, so for me, Philip, I think that the big thing in the world of education is our new, I guess, Secretary of Education, and I guess being an educator for God over 25 years now, and basically being very vested in public education. There are some very interesting times because you have a person that has a history of basically advocating for private schools and charter schools. There is good in anything if it's within reason, but for the general public, men that don't understand the cost amount and the value that you get with public education. But they say people, and I said this when I had a speaking engagement recently, and I was talking about statistics and numbers that people can take the numbers and change them, but the numbers never lie, but people do. And you look at the value that public schools have contributed and the mass number of people that have graduated from public schools, I think it's very, very important that this person go on with a very open mind as to what can take place and be willing to basically listen to those around us, surround ourselves with people that are basically competent and capable and understand those various aspects. And unfortunately, that was one of the things that made it very difficult for her when she was going through a hearing, because if people felt as if she didn't have that aspect. And is she the best qualified? I don't know. But that was the pick of folks. As I said, I have my concerns as to what will take place, but only time will tell. Because I said I'm a strong advocate of public schools. I'm a product of public schools. And despite the many things that people say, you know, the vast majority of our students have done well through public schools. And it's easy to look at, they call it, pick at the scabs of what's wrong and not look at the positives like anything else. And I think so many of us, you can basically, you know, look at the negatives and attack those. But by and large, I think that there's a, you know, that public schools will continue to do well. They'll continue to basically prepare our students to be successful in the world of work. You know, in the world, if they decide to go into the military, if they decide to go to college or trade school. But I think that it's not something that we want to tear down and say we're going to rebuild, because many people that are attacking really don't have all their facts in place. And so I think that it's important that people, that they say, step back from that cliff and basically look at it very objectively.
People tend to look at the outliers instead of the vast majority, as far as when they're judging public schools and their successfulness.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. I had a great time listening to you talk about this music part, because remember, I grew up on CDs, albums, 8-track tapes, cassette players. So this having music on something other than something I can touch and feel is a little different.
Oh yeah, this is honestly only the beginning as far as music goes. They're already looking into ways to stream music into different mediums. So I feel like I'm learning something new myself every day. But it makes things more exciting.
Okay, well, keep learning, keep growing.
That's all I can do. I'm the Prince.
I'm the King.
PJ Squared.